Whether you're crossing the Atlantic, solo sailing,
hiking, lockdown,
or you've got an urgent deadline for work, or you're transversing the inland waterways with a toddler with millions of locks,
and many other situations, this is a game changer.
So what's a game changer then, Rossella?
This is a meal, and this is also a meal.
Before we get into the details, we've got a gift for you, so if you stay till the end of the video, then you'll find out the details about that. So let's look at the ideal food for provisioning on a boat. Ideally, you don't want it to need refrigeration. You don't want it to be in packaging which brings beasties on board your boat. You don't want it to be in packaging which could break, smash and spill. You don't want it to be too bulky if you can help it. You know, you want your provision to be as compact as possible. We recently discovered a food which meets all these requirements and more. And basically a company reached out to us. 99.9999% of the time we don't even reply to those emails. So if anybody's emailed us about things in the past, sorry, we're just too busy to reply to those. But on this occasion it was something that really stood out and we thought, do you know what, we've got to tell our viewers about this. So as a result of that, we're filming this sponsored video from YFood. This is a meal replacement. It doesn't need to be refrigerated, and not only does it have lots of calories, it's also got lots of protein and 26 vitamins and minerals. This, for my solo sailing trip, for example, would have been an absolute godsend. You sit at the helm, you can just sit there, drink this, that's your food done. You don't need to have to go and cook food. You don't need to deal with waves and being in the galley when the weather's rough, keeping watch while you're making your food and while you're cleaning up afterwards. So for that, it is absolutely amazing. However, YFood have got an even more clever solution. This is 17 meals in here. 17 nutritionally balanced meals. This is 100 grams of this powder, and this is 100 grams of pasta, and this is 112 grams of tuna when you drain down the water. So basically, these two have got the same number of calories, and incredibly, there's the same amount of protein in here as there is in here. So 17 meals, if you imagine how many bags of pasta you'd have to have, how many tins of tuna, how much rubbish that creates afterwards. Then you compare it with this. When you want a meal, you open up a resealable Ziploc bag, you get out your powder, you put it in your shaker, which YFood give to you for free when you buy the powder the first time, and then you put some water in, you shake it, that's it, you're good to go. That's not the only reason that this has got many advantages though. Let's look at some other things. First of all, if you're going to be eating pasta or rice or any of the other dry goods that you normally buy, you need water to cook the pasta. I don't know many people who drink pasta water, so that goes down into the sea and gets wasted. So you're carrying water on board, which has either come from a limited supply, if you're carrying it in your tanks, or you might have burned some fuel to use your water maker to make the water that you're then throwing away. So that's wasteful. You also need to create a lot of heat. Obviously, water has a very high specific heat, so it takes a lot of energy to boil it, to make your pasta. So you have to carry propane or some other fuel on board to cook your food. Whereas with this, you don't need that, you just need water. And the water that you do use to make your powder, of course, then gets consumed, so it goes into your body and doesn't get wasted. Let's imagine provisioning our boat again. We've got tons of tuna and lots of pasta. The tuna, if you're in high seas, will be rattling around and making noise and keeping you awake and annoying you. Like I said before, you're going to also be generating quite a lot of rubbish with this. Let's look at the alternative. If you come aboard with some bags of YFood, they'll stow away really, really easily. They're protected against moisture. They're not going to rattle around. You can potentially squeeze them into an awkwardly shaped locker and they'll take the shape of it. And if you were carrying a whole bunch of these, let's say you're crossing the Atlantic, you've got a bunch of these for your crew, people are eating them here and there whenever they need a quick meal. When they're finished, all you need to do is take the package, open this, put it inside this, seal it up, so all your rubbish is contained as well. It's just, there is no end to the advantages of this, it's amazing. My prediction is, in 5 years, this is going to be everywhere. It's going to be in shops all over the place because they're so convenient. You're sitting at your desk at work, you've got a project to finish urgently, there you go, you've had your meal, it's done and dusted. We will definitely be using these on our canal trip because they're so convenient. You know, if me and Rossella are busy dealing with locks and Enna, which we will be all the time, then having this as an extra option for food is just amazing. Of course, we are going to be eating normal food. We obviously have a balanced diet in our lives all the time, but this, for me and Rossella to have a quick meal here and there, is absolutely brilliant. We're going to go somewhere together now, but I'm not taking this with me. I'm going to be taking the powder and the shaker. Let's go. I thought we should come to the countryside together because it is good for the soul. I can also talk to you about some situations where YFood, or a product like YFood, would have been an absolute game changer. When I was in my early 20s, I climbed the tallest mountain in the UK, Ben Nevis, on my own. I spent 5 nights and 6 days at the summit. I went up there in October and I carried all my gear with me for the 6 days, which ended up to be 35 kilograms. And carrying 35 kgs up to the top of a mountain isn't easy. The vast majority of that weight was food. I didn't have to carry my water with me because there's a natural spring about half a mile away from the summit, so that was my kind of plan for water. However, in the end I didn't even have to use that because I was basically sleeping on some rocks with a little tarp as a shelter. And what I did was I put a V-shaped string on the tarp, and whenever it rained that would collect the rain, bring it down to the centre, and I'd just put the little bit of string in a bottle that would fill the bottle up with rainwater. And also when it wasn't raining, when the clouds were passing over that, the clouds would condense on the tarp, then drip down the stream, fill my water bottle. So the whole time I was there I didn't have to go and get water, I just collected it where I was. I was getting about 1.5 litres of water per day with that method. However, if I'd have had something like YFood to take with me, then I would have cut my weight down by more than half. This is a hoof fungus, which looks quite like a hoof. And if you break them open, on the inside there's a very kind of fibrous material. This one is soggy, but if you let them dry out like this one I collected a couple of weeks ago, they weigh almost nothing and they're an excellent fire starter. Another situation where YFood is fantastic is trekking. When I was in the Royal Air Force, we went trekking up to the Himalayas. That meant a couple of things. First of all, we weren't really acclimatised to that. You know, we're not used to carrying heavy weights at that height. So it was only due to the help of a bunch of Sherpas that came with us, absolutely brilliant guys they were, that we were able to do what we were doing. And that's not only carrying your gear, but it's also carrying food, which was very heavy. And because there are no trees up there, because it's so high, we also had to bring our own fuel with us, so propane bottles and things. We had to take those with us rather than use locally sourced materials. If we'd have had YFood, on the other hand, we could have carried a lot of calories with us with very, very little weight. Our water's nicely on the boil there with the help of nature. Now bear in mind you don't actually need hot water to make YFood. The only reason I'm doing this is because I'm quite low down. If I was a few hundred meters higher up in the mountains I would just drink this straight from the stream, but because I'm below civilization it's just a lot safer to boil the water. Look at how small and how light this is. This is a meal, YFood meal, lots of calories, full of nutrients, and it is incredibly light to carry. You imagine carrying 21 meals, whether they be, you know, standard kind of food that people take to the mountains or even military rations. One day of military rations is extremely heavy. 21 meals of this would be 2.1 kilos. That really is fantastic in many, many different situations. So all I have to do here is take the water off, let it cool down a little bit, put my powder in here. I could have been carrying the powder in here already, to be honest, but I wanted to show you it in the bag. And then I just pour the water in, close the lid. This is completely sealed. I've carried it around in my bag and it doesn't leak. And you just do that, and there you go, you've got a meal. Now, this is probably quite a unique situation. There is a lot of affinity between sailors and campers, mountaineers, teardrop trailers, just the outdoors, isn't it? The great outdoors is beautiful. So maybe lots of you watching this do things on land as well as at sea. But I bet many of you, if not all of you, fly. I travel a lot for work, have done for very many years, and having something like this is amazing because it weighs virtually nothing. When it's in its dry form. You can pack a couple of bags of powder with you on your trip. When you're in your departure airport, you just find yourself a water fountain somewhere convenient after security or whatever. Then you can shake up your powder, you've got yourself a meal, and then you can do the same again at your destination. You can carry around your powder, which weighs next to nothing, and all you need is some water, you've got yourself a meal. Really very, very convenient. The fire was just there, so if anybody's wondering, yes, I did clean up after myself. You never normally see the bit when we run back to get the camera. I know what you're thinking, but you're wrong. You're never too old to do that. So Emma, do you know where Daddy went before? Do you know what I did? I started a fire and I got some water from the river and I boiled it so it's safe to drink, and now it's in there and Daddy's going to taste it.
So this one is Daddy.
This is for me to taste.
Daddy to try.
And we've got a taster pack here. YFood were kind enough to send this to us.
Wow!
So we've got vanilla, smooth vanilla, fresh berry, alpine chocolate and cold brew coffee.
Yes, and we also have 2 bars.
Yeah, these are very special. Emma's very keen for
the pink one.
So these are very low in sugar, about 4% sugar, but they've got lots of protein, fibre as well. They've actually got more protein than one of those entire tins of tuna that we looked at before, which I find incredible.
Yeah, and also gluten free.
If you've got any allergies, check on their website. They've got, you know, they've really thought about all this, and they cater for everybody really.
Yeah, and they've loads of vitamins and minerals. So.
Yep. Okay, here we go. Fresh berry.
Ooh, this is my gorgeous.
There you go.
And my first. Got it.
Yummy. Is it nice? Can Daddy taste it? Just a little bit. Thank you. Mmm.
See?
Very nice. Very nice.
Delicious. In fact, I would like to drink more, but we need to taste the other one.
So, because we're tasting these for the first time, we can't vouch for how long they keep you full for because we haven't experienced it yet, but on the website they say from 3 to 5 hours. And if you read the reviews from people, that tends to be the consensus too.
Come here and play Peppa Pig for the tango.
Fresh berry.
Sei una coquetta. Sei un coltello.
Yeah. So we've tried them all.
Yeah.
They're all delicious.
Sì.
My personal favourites, the bars are very nice. It's okay, darling, don't worry. My personal favourite for the liquid YFood is...
Quello è il cioccolato tuo.
Thank you.
My favorite is probably equal coffee and fresh berry.
Okay, my 2 favourites are cold brewed coffee and alpine chocolate, but they're all very nice, so it's quite difficult to choose your favourite really.
Yeah.
And the bars are delicious. The present that we mentioned at the beginning of this video is a 10% discount, so if you go to YFood's website, there are some links in the description below this video, and then you enter the discount code Britaly10 at checkout, you get 10% off your order. So yeah.
Quello è mio.
This is yours, the berry one.
So we hope you found this as interesting as we did.
And
we love these products. Yes. and we'll see you in another video very soon.
Yeah. See you in the next video. Bye.
Emma, say bye.
Say bye.
Bye.